So, the more advanced features for using the transpose line. So the last part was just over the basics. So I'm going to use these squares to kind of illustrate how you can use this in other ways. So first off, very basic one, very useful, use it all the time. I'm in my move transpose. I'm going to hold down Control and move around. That creates a duplicate of my object by just holding down Control and moving it with the middle circle of my transpose line. It's going to mask off the original and create a new one. You can continue to do this, so it's great for placing lots of pieces. A couple notes with this: when you're copying these around, they can't have subdivision levels. So if it's not working, it's probably because of that, and also you can't have any parts of your mesh hidden. So you can also hold down Control. Let's use a sphere for this. This is only useful for Dynamesh, but you can hold down Control and Alt and move this around. So I'm just going to move it slightly. What this is going to do is going to make a subtractive mesh, which if I have Dynamesh active, it's going to actually cut out that mesh that I had duplicated because I held Control and Alt. If I just move Control, move it, and re-Dynamesh this, it's going to merge the two together. So, just handy little things that make your workflow a lot faster. Other uses with Transpose Line. So if I hold down, I'm going to have this line down the center here, and I'm going to hold down Alt. And that's going to stretch my mesh. It's a little bit different than if I wasn't holding mesh or Alt. What the Alt is doing is it's kind of creating a fall-off effect for your transpose move. So if I hold no Alt, it's going to be evenly stretching everything. If I hold down Alt, it's going to take this anchor point to this point and kind of have a fall-off effect. So the more the side point that I am actually dragging from is going to have the most effect, and falling off from there. So this is especially useful if you want to bend things. Let's hold down Alt, and I'm going to move it to the side, like so. Now how would this actually be, like, how can you affect this if you wanted a slightly different curve to that? That is with the focus of your brush or your transpose. So by default it's probably at 0. I guess mine moved a little bit. Let's try this with more of a negative effect. Now it's a much different move. So I'm going to actually duplicate this by just holding down Control. Moving this down here, and we'll make one more. Alright. So this one is going to be at 0%. I'm going to hold down Alt and move it up. Now we'll try this one, and we're going to move that to -100. That probably has, we'll do a little bit less, so it has a little bit of fall off. It's very stiff and rigid, kind of almost just like a straight move. And last one, we're going to make a really soft fall off by having the positive focus. So that's going to have barely any effect here. It's just going to be at the very end. So you can see the different effects by just your focal shift. So you can do more than just modifying this end as well. I'm going to use the same technique for the middle of this. So holding down Alt and grabbing that middle white circle. Now I can really have some very useful bends. And again, this is just affected by the focus. And voila. So I often have trouble like bending things. It just needs to be a little bit curved and it's just really hard to get to. That's just adjusting the focus and using your move transpose with Alt. Get a nice bend to that. It doesn't even stop there. It's based on this transpose line. So if you want to affect just part of it, you can do that. Or this. Whatever amount you want to do, you can do. It does matter what point is the end and the start. If I just single click on the outer circle, it's going to switch what direction is the start and which one is the end. So I can move those, make a nice S curve to this. So, very nice. Also a nice little thing is when I'm finding the center of an object, it's based on what is movable. So if I click this white circle to find the center of my object, it's going to find the center of my unmasked area. So very, very handy to know that a little bit. I can stretch this out, do whatever, maybe hold some alts, twist it. Let's move on to the scale. So with scale, let's just have the line drawn out in the center here and pick this end. Holding down alts, it's kind of going to taper effect to this. Really, really nice to have. If I grab the center, it's going to be kind of a bubbling or pinching if you want it to be. Just holding down Alt, you can do all sorts of things. So let's try it on a different angle, not in the center. So, very, very useful. Same thing with the rotate. You can hold down Alt on this one. So let's just have that at the very center of this. Hold down Alt. And it's going to start twisting like a tie or something around with using the fall off. Again, everything uses this fall off, which I should probably set back to 0. Alright, so let's grab the end piece here. See what that does. Nice little bend effect going on. And I can adjust how much or where my fall off is starting. So it's going to start here. And this is the strongest point. Twisting just like the regular. It's just kind of adding a fall off. So a couple of last things. I'm going to go switch back to my move transpose line. And I'm actually going to demonstrate this on a cylinder instead of the cubes here. A little bit easier to see. So if I have the move tool activated, I can hold down Control and drag my new mask onto this object. And it's going to follow the geometry of my object. So in this case, you can just keep on moving it down the cylinder. And this is really the best for like posing. You just want to bend it a little bit. And now you can use your fall offs here. So let's say I want to rotate this. This is like an elbow, say. I'll rotate around here maybe. So super useful. It doesn't have to be with the geometry. You can go against it. Just do a side of it. Another thing, if I have multiple little objects here, if I just hold down Control and drag a little bit, it's going to select the entire object. So let's say I want to use that a little bit. I want to extrude part of my mesh here. I could do various different things, but I can also use my transpose line here. So I'm going to mask off part of this, just like this row of them, I guess. Mask off this edge, so it's really just this end piece, and then invert that mask. I'm going to turn on my wireframe for a second here. So you can see it's a pink edge here, and there's just one middle row. If I hold down Control while dragging the middle ring of my move tool, it's actually going to extrude, not just move, but extrude part of this mesh. And it's going to update every time you hold down Control. I usually hold down Control and Shift then, so that it's straight and it doesn't get skewed. That's going to update your mask every time you make a new one. So you have a bunch of new segments. Super fast and useful to do this for your geometry. And those are my tips on using the Transpose line in ZBrush. I hope you found this helpful, and see you next time.